Good morning, guys. In today's class, we are going to start module 3. In that module 3, we are going to see the first chapter, that is key management. So in this key management, we are going to see X509 digital certificate format, public key infrastructure, functions of public key infrastructure, public key infrastructure architecture, certificate revocation. So in this, first we are going to see X509 digital certificate format. So this X509 digital certificate format has a format that consists of certificate serial number and version, issuer information, subject's public key information, validity period, and certificate signature, associated signing algorithm. So in that, first we're going to see certificate serial number and version. So in this certificate serial number and version, each certificate issued by a given certificate authority will have a unique number. So this certificate serial number will be of a unique. So the unique is nothing but, suppose, consider as an example of your Aadhaar. So Aadhaar will have the unique number. And again, the other example, you can take your mobile phone, where we will going to use different mobile numbers. So with that, mobile numbers will be unique when compared to another. So next is issuer information. So the issuer information should consist of name of an entity, which is its common name, or it might be an email address, or it might be an organization name, or it might be a country, etc. So now we're going to see the third, the subject information. So what the subject information consists of? So subject information consists of a distinguished name of a sub certificate subject or owner. See, for example, if a customer intended to communicate with an e-commerce web server, example, we're going to take it as a dmart.com, then the customer browser will request a dmart certificate. So at client side, software will check whether the common name, that is the dmart certificate, tallies with the dmart's domain name. So the other information, such as the subject, the country, the state, organization, can also included in the subject information. So next we are going to see subject public key information. So this public key, the public key information consists of two algorithms. One is RSA and DSA. So the parameters of this RSA, which includes the modulus in case of RSA and modulus plus generator in case of Diffie element. So in addition to this, the subject public key information uses a public key private key pair, which may be included the signature, and it can also be included the encryption. So next comes a validity period. So there are two data fields in this validity period, which is the start date and the end date, between which the certificate is valid. See, for example, if you take a debit card or a credit card, which you guys will going to use, there will be a two dates, which where the start date of your debit card and till what date it will be valid. So there will be two dates. That period will be called as a validity period. So next is certificate signature and associated signing algorithm. So it is necessary to verify the authenticity of the certificate. For example, the purpose it is signed by the issuer. The certificate should include the issuer digital signature and also the algorithm used for signing the certificate. The certificate signature and associated signing algorithm should include the certificate issued by an issuer, and also it contains the algorithm which is used for signing this certificate. So next we're going to see the public key infrastructure. So in this public key infrastructure, we're going to see the functions of public key infrastructure and the public key infrastructure architecture and certificate revocation. So in detail, we're going to see each one of these. So first we're going to see the functions of PKI. So what's the functions of PKI, public key infrastructure? First one is certificate creation. Second one is key generation and key escrow. Key escrow is nothing but I'm backing up. So third one is certificate revocation. So in this case, the encryption decryption, it is also often necessary to have a backup of the decryption key. An employee who loses his decryption key will be unable to decrypt the data. So he may face some few issues. So for this reason, the public key infrastructure within an organization, for example, might hold the private key in escrow. Escrow is nothing but they may securely backed up and made available to the owner or to the trusted authority under special circumstances. On the other hand, there is no need to back up a private key used for signing. If such a key is lost, the owner could inform the certification authority or the public key infrastructure administrator. If he or she could obtain a fresh signing key and receive a new certificate carrying the corresponding public key. Indeed, given by this private key issued for signing, an individual should not have his or her signing key or a backup key or anyone else. So the important functions of public key infrastructure is to provide a safe facility for all the issued certificates. So next we're going to see public key infrastructure architecture. So in here in this architecture, it's of four. One is public key infrastructure with a single certification authority. Then the hierarchical or a tree-based public key infrastructure. And the third one is mesh-based. And fourth one is bridge-based. So first we're going to see PKI with single certification authority. As the name indicates, there will be a one certification authority who will going to certify all the users. So whether these users are valid or not. See here, it consists of a certification authority one, which is going to certify the user one, user two, and user three up to n number of users. So where whichever the users want to communicate, it has to give a public key to a certification authority. So which is scalability, and it's also theoretically it's not good enough. Why? Because a certification authority should give all the certificates to n number of users, which is not scalable. So here, in order to avoid the scalability, we are going to use hierarchical tree-based architecture. So so in hierarchical tree-based public key infrastructure architecture, it will going to overcome the scalability problem which was having in PKI with single certification authority. So the CA1 certify other CAs, who in turn certify the other CAs, and so on. So this creates a tree of CAs known as hierarchical PKI. See, for example, here this CA1 will going to certify this CA, and this CA will in turn certify CA5. So the CA1 will in turn certify CA3, and CA3 in turn certify CA6, so and so on, which will be in terms of tree. So here CA1 certifies to CA2, CA3, and CA4, CA2, CA2, CA3, and CA4, and CA2 in turn issues a certificate to CA5 and end users U1. So end user U1 here. Okay. Now CA5 issues certificate to user U2 and U3. The advantage of this approach is easy scalability, which was an drawback in PKI with single certification authority. So each certification authority is responsible for certifying a limited number of users or other certification authorities. So the CA1 will be the root. CA1 will be the root, the root. So it is expected that every node in a tree will know the root CS public key. Suppose U1 in this figure, in public hierarchical tree based in architecture, suppose U1 needs U5's public key. So U5 certificate is signed by CA6. First, U1 may not have CA6 public key to verify its signature on U5's certificate. Moreover, U1 does not have a trust relationship with CA6. So instead of a single certificate issued by CA6 confirms for U5's public key. So U5 would have to provide an entire chain of certificate as follows. So certified, so first it will need to provide the certificate signed by CA1. So here, certificate signed by CA1 confirming for CA3's public key, this one, CA3's public key, and second, the certificate signed by CA3 confirms for CA6, this one, CA6 public key. The certificate signed by CA6 confirms U5's public key. So this one, U5. Okay. So it is assumed that each node has a copy of the root's public key. So upon receiving the above certificate chain, U1 can verify the signature on the first certificate using CA1's public key. So this is what the hierarchical tree-based public key infrastructure is. So next we are going to see the mesh-based PKI. So here the mesh-based PKI is more dense web of trust, which is shown in this figure, 6C figure, mesh-based PKI, and is referred to as mesh-based PKI. This could include mutually trusting CA certification authority one trusting CA2, so which is of bidirectional. So here in this case, the hierarchical tree-based PK architecture, it was a unidirectional, but here in this it's of bidirectional. So here it will be having two ways, that is bidirectional. There will be a two path. So in turn, the certification authority in turn need not to verify with each others. See, suppose if it wants U1 wants to communicate with CA3, so CA3 can directly communicate without asking for CA1 certification authority to U1. So this is how the mesh-based PKI works. So mesh-based PKI is of bidirectional, whereas tree hierarchical-based PKI is of unidirectional, where it requires more number of paths in hierarchical, whereas in mesh-based is required a single it's of the bidirectional path. Hence, the scalability will be very much easier. So next is bridge-based PKI. So what do you mean by this bridge-based PKI? So bridge-based PKI is motivated by the need of secure communication between the organization. So in a business partnership, suppose the partnering organization already have their own PKI. See, for example, so this will be already having their own PKI. A organization B will be having own PKI organization. So a bridge is introduced that establishes a trust relationship with a representative CA for each organization. So these things will be act as representative of CA, and this is the bridge between CA. So whatever the communication should happen, it will going to happen internally, and if you want to communicate with the other organization, then it will be using the bridge of CA, and in turn it will going to communicate with the other organization, that is with organization B. This is what the bridge based PKI is all about. So next we are going to see about certificate revocation. So in that certificate revocation, we have two scenarios. One is scenario 1 and another one is scenario 2. So first we are going to see the scenario 1. So the certificate subject, for example, Prashant was issued a certificate valid between January 1 2020. See, for example, Prashant was issued a certificate valid between January 1 2020 and till December 31 2020. However, he quit the organization on April 1st 2020. Assume that the Prashant certificate is to be used for key exchange and that he has made a copy of it. So note that the public key in a key exchange certificate is used by another party to encrypt a random session key. So generally speaking, it is not legal for Prashant to act on behalf of his company beyond the date of resignation. So, however, that is precisely what he could do when he attempts to establish an official business communication with a customer of the earlier company on June 10, 2020, based on the expiration date in Prashant's certificate. So, the customer would deduce that the certificate was valid. Moreover, Prashant would be able to authenticate himself or a person unauthorized decryption, since he knows the private key corresponding to the public key in his certificate. Thus, Prashant might continue to business on behalf of his company even after resigning. So this will be a scenario 1. Scenario 1 is not as simple as that. Even if an employee resigns, he will be having its public key. By using that public key, he can establish a communication between the old customer, which is not a valid. That's what the certificate scenario 1 tells us about. So what do you in scenario 2, what it tells is, so in scenario to consider a chain where the certification authority will going to give a certification authority to CA3, and into CA3 in turn will going to give a certification authority to CA6 and U. So suppose that private key of CA3 were compromised. An attacker with access to the compromised private key could then do the following things. So what he can do is, so he can generate a public key and a private key pair. So public key will be of X and private key will be of Y. Create a certificate containing a public key X with a subject name U. Okay, signing the above certificate using the compromised private key of CA3. So the attacker has thus created a entity U when masquerading the subject. Now the attacker can forgery the signature of U on any message by signing with a private key. So the attacker would provide a certificate chain of two certificates. The certificate issued by the CA1 confirms for CA3's public key and above certification created by him. So the chain is valid trust path for the root CA, which is in turn a violate the certificate revocation. This is what the certification revocation is about. Thank you guys. We're going to see in next class the next topics.